Okay, Sam, whenever you're ready.
All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Let me respond to, excuse me. Let me respond to that and say, okay, so it's not flashing in my face as I speak. Um, this morning, last week I spoke about a covenant, the Declaration of Independence and a covenant. Um, I just want to say what makes the covenant really a covenant. In other words, it said that God was involved in it. Well, all men were created equal by their Creator, clearly responding to God. And at the end of the Declaration, there was a statement after it had the entire indictment of the king. It had a statement of that it would be mutual, that they would be protecting each mutual protection on, and they were going to fight each other, they fight the king until they win, and whatever it would take. And they knew at that point, they knew that that what was I think was Franklin says, they were all going to hang together. There was some quote like that from Franklin. Franklin, of course. Uh, Today, I'm going to take the idea of the covenant and push it up four score and 7 years. Okay, well, not quite that. It's going to start off a little earlier than that, but the culmination of it is going to be at that famous speech in Gettysburg. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Lincoln and what it meant to him and how he related this idea of a covenant. So if you know a little bit about American history, it'd be easier to follow. If not, I will do the best I can. I try to do the best I can to put in some information. On November 6th, Lincoln was elected as president. He became president-elect. He was the first, of course, he was the first Republican to win, not the first to run, but the first to win the presidency. The Democratic Party at that point was split into four factions, and he was able to, and because of that, he won pretty easily. In response to his election, South Carolina immediately seceded. See, Lincoln had talked about, wait, let me go back in this. What Lincoln talked about was preserving the Union and was not allowing slavery to go into the territories. Okay? And so the first thing that happened was that South Carolina seceded from the Union. And by February, six other states had followed to secede. On March 4th, Lincoln was inaugurated. Now, in February, and go back one step from that, Lincoln left when he leaves Springfield, Illinois, uh, in early February to make the journey to Washington. He got a gift from a Jewish man whose name actually I had was in the story with Abraham Cohen. By the way, a lot of this is from an essay by Rabbi Meir Soloveitchik, the Rav's great nephew. Okay, according to Cohen's daughter, later he believed that Lincoln would free the slaves and save the country. Okay, and so far, but his only goal so far is to save the country. The gift is a picture of an American flag with the inscription from Sefer Yehoshua, which sort of starts as God's Hashem says to Yehoshua, as I with Moses, so I will be with you, and he almost a promise that he would win it and it would elevate Yehoshua. Lincoln, the interesting thing about it was that Lincoln was not known for having believed in a church-going person and the God of Abraham. Most people did. Even his law concerned and wasn't even sure that he was about this. But Lincoln took the gift, the picture of the flag with the inscription from Yeshua, and he hung it in the White House. He realized, he understood the difficulty of his task, and that he needed the president, and he was the divine presence to succeed. And it seems that he sensed that as Yoshua was given a difficult job, so was he, as the state seceded and everything else. Uh, when he took a train, of course he could have taken he could have gone by horse and buggy, I suppose. But he took a train uh, through the country to New York, and he stopped at Trenton on February 21st. Now, of course, if those of you who are my age, and we used to get every year, we used to get February 22nd off for Washington's birthday. And so this was the day before Washington's birthday. And he was asked, he intended to speak. He knew there was a famous biography of Washington back at that time uh, by Weems, uh, and it related in the story the battles that the Continental Army had fought, and especially the battle that was fought at Trenton. And just to go back and review a little bit of the Revolutionary War, why there's such an important battle for Washington, why he felt he had to win. Uh, the, 17, is probably aware, in 1775, the British basically routed it out of and chased out of Boston, and they retreated. They came back, and the declaration, of course, was July 4th, 1776, and between August and September of 1776, maybe even into October, a little later, there was a battle, a grand battle, one of the first big clashes uh, of the Revolutionary War. It was, I think when I was in school, they called it the Battle of Long Island, battle which ended in Brooklyn Heights. And basically, the British routed Washington's army or whatever strategies he had. They outnumbered it, they outmanned them, outnumbered the ship. It sort of wasn't even a fight. But when Washington realizes that they were doomed, that they were doomed on Long Island, which by the way, they Long Island. The battle is in Long Island, but it was basically a lot of it went right through what we would say today, started in Jamaica, and went through Queens and Brooklyn. Probably my backyard where I grew up in East New York was probably part of the battle. Anyway, as they're withdrawing, and in the middle of the night they're withdrawing, and the fires were going and everything else to try to make sure the British thought that they weren't running, and because General Howe decided not to finish the battle off, not to go after and finish the battle, and they withdraw. And Washington requisits every rowboat he could think of, every boat, everything he could think of to move out the cannon, the horses, overnight. And he manages to do it. Probably it occurred to me that with the movie about Dunkirk, it's had about a little bit about Dunkirk from the war. This is probably an early version of Dunkirk, but they ran out of time. It was dawn. It was dawn over the East River, and but they were saved. They were saved. Dense fog. And you might, when I first read about this, I thought, maybe Hashem wanted them to escape and put the fog there. And there were people even at that time who believed that. And he was able to escape through a dense fog, cross the East River into Lower Manhattan, and then they chased him all the way up through Manhattan, up the East River, probably on the Hudson River side too. There was a running battle up through Manhattan. There was a big battle in White Plains, but Washington escapes a diminished army over the George Washington Bridge. And I guess you could see signs of there were signs of Washington's retreat through northern New Jersey at various places as you drive around. If you notice the signs that Washington retreated through here, he crosses the Delaware into probably I do believe it's in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and it's winter. Snow is falling. He's had a terrible year, having been chased out of New York, Brooklyn, Manhattan, wherever, cross into chased by the British, and he's sitting there, and he needs to have a victory. Okay, plain and simple, he needs to somehow or another win a battle, change his luck. Let the people know that he's still around and making a difference. And of course, that leads to the attack, where the famous picture that we see of Washington in the middle of the winter, standing in the boat, crossing to New Jersey. They march down to Trenton in a blizzard and attack the Hessians, who the British had hired to fight for them. Well, they were celebrating their Christmas holiday. This was, of course, December 25th. And they defeated them, and it was a big victory. It was a tremendous victory. It was a sign that Washington had not. Then of course they moved on to Princeton, and there was another battle there that they did okay with, but was the one with the headlines. And Lincoln, getting back to Lincoln, Lincoln remembers the accounts of the battles in the biography and perhaps other stories. Site of a great battle, and he won. And he, according to what his remark, he was wondering. He wondered, what were they fighting for? Just for independence? Was there something more that they were fighting for? The great was there some great promise for the that they were going to serve the world, bring something to the world that they didn't have? And Lincoln, of course, wondered what was going on. For the nation be perpetuated, okay, after a tremendous struggle, and it was a tremendous struggle. Washington always remembered not only that, but the other battles, and how difficult it was to make the nation against such that the British Empire posed. Uh, in the would he be able to continue? That was his heart. Would he be able to continue as like almost what the words in his speech were, in the humble as the humble instrument in the hands of the Almighty? And he called the nation that it was that of this almost chosen nation. And that was basically when I read this was one of the reasons why I just wanted to bring this whole idea that Lincoln recognized that this was a special something special going on in the United States, the Union, as it became to be known for the 4 years of the war and probably after, that it was an almost chosen nation, almost chosen people. And as Lincoln, he was in the area of where the battle was. Washington walked with his men, and it was he considered the founding of the nation miraculous. It was a miraculous founding. Than national independence, it was something greater than just the national independence that this that that the founders had made, and which actually they had even forwarded even more so in the Constitution when they started the Constitution. We the people, to a greater union to protect us. Um, that was something that was there before, and he related in this sense, as far as we could tell of his understanding, or our understanding too, of biblical Israel. He related back to that covenant that was that Abraham Avinu, when Abraham Avinu is given his walking, watching, there's the go for yourself. Uh, his destiny and ours today is tied to that land that he went to, and he walked up and down that land to visit it, and that is considered part of the covenant. And as he felt like he was part of a covenant here, it was that America was an almost chosen. Okay, and there was a responsibility, as people will tell you, that for Jews, there's a responsibility of being the chosen people. We're supposed to behave a certain way and do that. He had to do certain things, uh, and to win the war, and to go on from there and to reestablish the nation. Um, and of course, we know that in the early years of the war, he was inaugurated on March 4th that year, and Virginia seceded, and then basically all the border states seceded, and he had to move federal troops in to keep some of them in. So it wasn't an easy time if aware of what happened. Um, there were too many victories in the beginning. Bull Run, Fredericksburg, some of them when they went into Northern Virginia to try to capture. The goal was that if they could capture Richmond, which became the capital, they would win the war. But the but the Southern forces weren't going to give it up easily. But what happened was to try to kind of shake up the Union Army and the Union Lincoln. First they first they went into Maryland and attacked Maryland, and Battle of Antietam. The federal troops finally had a major victory. Uh, just quickly, Lincoln thought could have been even a greater victory, but it wasn't. And there was finally a major victory, and with that, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which I mentioned before. He took the battle. He took his original wanting to preserve the Union, and gave it a different tone, a different tone by saying that he was going to free the slaves in the southern states, uh, that in the states that had seceded. Now, at the Battle of Antietam, that was basically in the east, in Maryland, but the Union armies out in the west, in the western part, west of the Alleghenies and the Mississippi, those armies eventually under General Grant had done pretty well. So there were a lot of slaves that were going to be freed in that area, in Alabama, Louisiana, and with states that they could, Tennessee, that they controlled. Okay, so and that gave the war a more moral tone than just saving the Union, which was important. And then the next time, Lee's army decided to try again to invaded the North and to try to split the union and shake it up a little bit to force a treaty to force the union to make a deal. Uh, they went into what became what we know today. They went into Pennsylvania and what we know today as the Gettysburg. Okay, and again, the Union Army was able to repulse them. So Lincoln wasn't terribly happy that they didn't pursue them as they were running across into Virginia to get them before they went to Virginia. But that led him, in a sense, to the famous um, his address, the Gettysburg Address. And I will not read the entire address, but just to note that they were probably for the first time, I believe it was the first time that going to consecrate a battlefield and bury the soldiers that were there, and he was going to consecrate the battlefield. Uh, and military I think it was the first military center, and the fourth school, and the entire speech. I'll quickly give you a part of the speech when he says 4 score and 7 years. That was a four score, was of course 4 times 20, seven, 87. Instead of saying 87, that was it's kind of a poetic thing that I believe was in the King James Bible. That kind of language in measuring time was there, and of course 4 score and 7 years, connecting it, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this, he was connecting this whole thing to the Declaration. He was, uh, I don't know if say he was amending it, but it was his interpretation. Maybe the way the Gemara interprets the Mishnah, something like that. I don't know. Please don't attack me for that one. He's renewing and as I said, since there was a covenant at the beginning, what he's going to say at Gettysburg is a renewal of the covenant, saying that the dead shall not die in vain. The nation will have a new birth of freedom. Okay, including that the government of the people, for the people, and by the people shall not perish from the earth. He was saying that they were in the process of finishing the job to preserve the union, and it was the government, in his terms, of the people, by the people, for the people, okay, is going to last. So he was almost saying that so far as of 1863, and there was still another year and a half of the war to go, that he was beginning to feel like there was some kind of success in doing this in the victory at Gettysburg. And then he was, of course, going to bring in General Grant from the West, and eventually they were going to be able to defeat Lee and chase him through the South, and finally trap him at Appomattox Courthouse. Um, in his just a word about in the second inaugural address, Lee, not Lee, but Lincoln was basically he basically asked an interesting question, uh, almost biblical, some say, that what was going on here? Why, if we were right morally and they were wrong, the South, moral issues, what why was God not helping us a little bit more? Why were they so successful? Why did they? And the question, the answer seems to have been that unfortunately, that both sides over time had taken advantage of the slavery issue. Northern traders who were dealing in slaves and making money off it, and that triangle from from Africa to the Indies to the United States, and it was a and he asked the question. He asked some questions, but in the end, his issue was that he was willing to move on. Didn't exactly happen because within a month later he was assassinated, and Andrew Johnson. Well, Andrew Johnson wasn't the man they thought he would be, and he turned out to try to be a more of a Southerner than they thought he would be, because they thought that he had been working with them with the Republicans and things like that. So, but we remember Lincoln saving the Union, and he done the job that he set out to do, and he left it to the rest of us to finish the job. Anyway, and that on that note, Mendy, Mendy is worse than my house. I see the fan blowing there. Any questions? Wait to Mendy to return. Anyway, that's a little bit of what I've seen and how it works, and in covenant I've seen it discussed in many ways, including the idea that even or maybe not especially marriage, that ketubah that we get is a covenant. There's an understanding in the covenant that under Hashem's leadership or guidance, we're going to work together and protect the family, make a family and protect it. So covenant is an idea that started with Abraham, with us, and has worked its way around the world. Things in Poland, Janusz.
They're okay.
What happened? What happened? All of a sudden, I lost my picture here.
What?
I lost my picture. There we
No,
go.
here.
There you are. There you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
My picture could have went blank. Anyway.
I see you. I see Mandy.
No, I
Yeah,
see you. I
Marvin.
see I was somebody's fan that was blowing. That was rotating on my screen. And
yeah,
it was Nathan.
that's my fan.
It's your fan? Okay. I was a fan. I could see it. And I kept saying,
Yeah.
well, it's
I know there is a fan behind him.
well, I have a fan over me. If I was doing it on my cell phone, I'd cell phone like that, and you'd see the fan, but I don't have it blowing. Bothers
I'm a
me.
fan of Mendy's.
You're a
What?
fan.
You're a fan
I'm
of
a fan of
Mandy?
Mendy's.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Mandy's fan. Here, see? An advertisement for NATEP. Here.
Yeah.
I always show this to Mandy whenever I have it on. Whenever I keep bringing it with me.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, see that? 2022. I don't remember who they honored then, but I remember getting the mug.
And
They
this
put a
is
straw in it.
ready for Shabbos in Krakow.
Oh,
What
beautiful.
time is? But it's
My daughter,
9:30 here. So what is it? 2:30 there?
and now 3 o'clock almost. No,
No, it's
Well,
30.
it's 9:30.
It's either 2:30 or
3:30.
3:30.
3:30. Okay.
Yeah,
If
3:30.
if I was sitting at the other table, I'd show you my the gift that NATEP gave me for my Shabbos table.
Mm-hmm. This is fluent.
Guys, I gotta go because I gotta do shopping. It's a busy weekend. Okay, so Sam, thank you so much for today. Very interesting. Everybody have a good Shabbos.
Thank you, Sam. Good
Okay.
Shabbos. Shabbos.
Have
Thank
a
you.
good Shabbos.
Thank you, Sam, for Shabbos pianist.
Good
Same to
Shabbos.
everybody. A good
Good
Shabbos.
Shabbos,
Yes.
Harvey. Good Shabbos, Sam.
Good
Thank
Shabbos
you.
all.
Thank you. Bye.
Good Shabbos to
Shabbos.
all.
Shabbos all. Okay.
Some will like, hey Marvin.
Hey, Sam.